Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about discipline because one of the things that I hear all the time, and I'm guilty of saying it as well, is that discipline is greater than motivation. And while that's true, a lot of the times whenever you're first starting out, you're like,
I don't even know how to implement discipline or build discipline.
so how am I supposed to let that prioritize over motivation? And then you end up relying on motivation and you get burnt out. So this is my step-by-step guide on how to actually implement and create discipline in your life. Now for me, the segue into learning more about discipline was my fitness journey. So I'm gonna be making a lot of examples to that, but you can apply these steps to literally any type of goal that you have for your life. I'm just gonna be focusing a little bit more on the fitness side. Before we dive into the steps, I just wanna give a quick little introduction. If you're new here, my name is Kennedy. I've lost over 70 pounds over the past several years by weightlifting, working out, and eating right. This was not something that I ever envisioned for my life. I was not a very motivated, driven, goal-oriented person, but I became one. So I have a little bit of background with wanting to start these goals, wanting to pursue these things, but not really knowing how. And now I just like
To share my tips with you guys.
so that you can do the same thing and accomplish your goals and know that you are that you can do it. So buckle up. That's what we do around here. We are kicking things off with step number 1, which is going to be to create your goals. And I'm not just talking about your big long-term goals. I'm talking about small goals, medium goals, huge goals, all kinds of different goals. I want you to literally write them down. Sure, you can say them out loud, you can put them in your notes app, but I feel like writing them down on paper, it just does a little something extra for me. When you're sitting down and you're writing down your goals, I want you to kind of bullet them down, and on the other side, I want you to add some value to those goals. So for instance, for me, it was, I want to lose 40 pounds. That was my big goal, but the value that I added behind it was, I want to lose 40 pounds because I want to prove to myself that I'm capable of doing something that I set my mind to. I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want to be able to walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded, etc. Those are the types of values I wanted to assign to that goal, because looking at a list of goals is good and it's helpful, but seeing the values next to them really kind of helps them click a little bit more. It gives a little extra oomph behind them that really is going to help you reference them and stick to them and see why you want to do them in the first place. Be super specific with your goals. When we're making these goals though, I like to have a variety, that way it's not boring to me. I want to focus on progress-based goals. Obviously, sometimes I throw a little aesthetic goals in there. I want to talk about the mental health goals, so many different other aspects, because that's going to help you along the way. Step number 2, now that we have our list of goals, I'm going to need you to be brutally honest with yourself. And I mean
brutally honest with yourself.
Do you know how many times before I actually stuck with it that I told myself that I was going to start a fitness journey either on Monday or the next day? I was gonna start eating right, I was gonna start working out, and I didn't do it. It's because I wanted it, but I did not want it bad enough to have to do the work that it took. So this is where you need to be honest with yourself. How badly do you actually want it? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to suffer a couple of losses to make those wins long term? It's not something that's just one and done. It's something that you have to implement daily. It's consistent work on yourself, on your mindset, on your body. There's so many different things that go into it that I want you to really sit down and be able to assess. Am I, first of all, ready to take it on? Second of all, how badly do I actually want it? Because there's gonna be some sacrifices you're gonna have to make, and there's gonna be times that you fail and you're gonna have to work through the mental part of that. If you want it, you are capable of making it happen as long as you are determined enough. So this is one of the biggest steps that I really had to work on and confront within myself. I had to accept that the times that I had failed before, I did not want it enough. And I remember saying, I just wish somebody could do this for me. That's why it never stuck, girl. That's why it never stuck. You didn't want to do the work yourself. Nobody can do the work for you but you. Step number 3, I want you to envision what your routine would look like, and I want you to literally schedule it out. One of the things that I found the most helpful whenever I first started out, because I was a full-time college student, I was working, I was trying to manage everything in my life, I would write down every Sunday night what classes I had that week, what my work schedule was looking like, and I would pencil in when I could fit in my workouts. Sometimes that meant I had to go between classes and I only had 20 to 30 minutes, but I tried to give it what I could. When you're writing down your schedule though, I want you to think beyond just, I'm gonna go 3 to 4 times a week. I want you to say, I'm gonna go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this time. I'm going to do this muscle group. I'm going to do these lifts, and it's going to take this long. This is gonna help you because on the day of, you don't have as much negotiation room with yourself. You don't have to be like, oh, what time am I gonna go to the gym? When am I gonna work? You already have that plan written out for you. And while sometimes life things will come up and you might have to be a little bit more flexible in that regard, you're gonna have an easier time just showing up because you're not gonna have as many excuses to talk yourself out of it. This is also where I would say that following some kind of workout plan or having a coach or a trainer, that can also be helpful with that added level of accountability, but also take out some of the mental load that you have to put in to actually showing up and doing a routine in the gym. But set aside those blocks of time and make them a priority for you. One thing I always told myself is, yes, work and school commitments were a huge deal, but these are commitments to myself. Therefore, I'm going to treat them with the same amount of importance, because a commitment to myself, that should be just as, if not more important than the ones that I'm putting towards school and work. All right, step number 4, we're going to focus on the habits that we can create. List out a bunch of small habits, and I mean small habits that can help you reach your goals. One of those that I really like to use as an example to kind of get the creative juices flowing is, I want to start working out in the morning. What is one thing I can implement into my already existing routine that can help me make working out in the morning a little bit easier? One of those things for me is, when I'm throwing the throw pillows off my bed, I'm going to set out my outfit and my gym bag for the morning. So that's one less thing I have to think about. As you kind of go through your routine and you're building it, you can see what habits you can kind of stack onto other things. So that way it becomes a little bit more automated. You're already doing some of these things every single day. The reason why I really like to do this with the habits is because it's less decision making at the time when you need to make action. If I need to go to the gym, but I didn't implement some of these habits that made it a little bit easier for me to go. Sure, I can still do those before I go to the gym, but there's going to be more action stacked against me. Whereas building that action beforehand and kind of breaking it up throughout your day makes it a little bit easier to be like, well, it would just make sense for me to go to the gym. I already have my clothes laid out. I know what I'm going to wear. I know when I'm going to work out. All of those things, they kind of work together and trick our brains and make the action just a little bit easier. Step number 5, we need to start managing the way that we talk about ourselves and about our goals. This was single-handedly one of the hardest things for me at the start of my journey. Our confidence and our self-esteem is so deeply rooted in who we tell ourselves that we are. For this, I really have tried to envision the version of myself that has accomplished my goals, because that's how I want to carry myself. We are constantly looking to validate the version of ourselves that we tell ourselves that we are. Even if you don't realize that you're doing this,
You're probably doing this.
for me, I really try to focus on days when I don't feel particularly motivated to go to the gym. I'll tell myself it would be easier to not go to the gym. That would kind of give in to this fleeting feeling that I have. But the kind of person that I envision myself being, that I'm trying to pursue, is somebody who's motivated, disciplined, shows up even when she doesn't want to. Therefore, why wouldn't I make the choice to validate that version of myself instead of giving into the version of myself that might make the lazier choice? It's kind of like that speaking it into existence type of thing. You want to create a healthy sense of self-talk around yourself that helps you validate the version of yourself that you want to be and that you are going to be. This was one of the hardest things for me at the beginning of my journey, because I personally never believed that I would be capable of pursuing the things I wanted to do. And I had to be brutally honest with myself that I was my biggest hater. Right before I started my fitness journey though, I had learned about self-efficacy, and that is kind of the surrounding belief in your ability to accomplish your goals. That's when I realized that that was a missing piece between me being able to be successful and all the times that I had given up prior. I would tell myself, you're not capable of accomplishing your goals. So then why would I believe that any effort that I put towards them would get me to where I wanted to be, if deep down I didn't believe that I was capable of doing it? So we need to manage the way that we're talking about ourselves and the way that we are talking about our goals. That's the only way that we're going to get past some of these mental blocks that hold us back. And we're doing it to ourselves. And that's like the most messed up part of it all. Step number 6, and you're probably going to hate me for this one, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You are going to have to be patient. This is not something that happens overnight. This is not something that happens in the blink of an eye. It is just something that happens over time. And sometimes it's going to be longer than you expect, but that doesn't mean that you're not making progress. You need to be okay with being in those phases of growth where you're not always seeing the fruition of what the work you're putting in is. But those times whenever you're not seeing that huge spike in growth or progress, those are still just as important as being able to mark off one of your goals as being complete. And patience is annoying because sometimes whenever you stall, it's really hard to feel like, oh, I should keep going, whenever it's easier to just give up. One of the things that I really like to do to kind of push that to the side, especially whenever I hit slumps, is to make note of small achievements that you make. Even if it's literally just, I showed up to the gym today. That's something to celebrate. That's something that puts you closer towards your goals, and that is progress. It might not seem like progress, but it is progress. Okay. And like I said, it's going to be a lot of consistency, daily work to put towards your goals. So ritualize the experience. Make it something enjoyable. You cannot hate yourself into living a life that you love. But the more that you keep going, the more that you keep doing it, the more that you keep taking steps towards your goals, the more automatic these habits and the rituals around it will be. This is where those small term goals though can be really, really helpful because your long-term goals might be further on the horizon, but you have these small goals that you can kind of mark off, check off, and work towards, especially whenever you're experiencing kind of those plateau phases where you don't feel like you're seeing as much progress as you want to. And step number 7, you have to create action. You can sit there, you can plan out everything. You can plan out your routine, your goals. You can envision the life that you want to have. You can create your mood boards. You can do all of these things. But the reality is they are worth nothing without action. Consistent action is going to be key. If you can't give it 100% every single day, give it what you can. It doesn't always have to be these huge dramatic overhauls and life-changing steps that are going to make it to where you see progress. Little small things are going to compound, they're going to add up over time, but they're not going to do that if you are not putting in any effort. The issue that I personally experience in this regard is I love to be a little perfectionist, and that's something that I've really been trying to work on, and it holds me back in a lot of regards. One of those reasons being why I haven't posted a YouTube video in months. Because I get so wrapped up in perfectionism, I really spend a lot of time in the planning phase, which leads me to feel a little immobilized sometimes. And as soon as it comes time to take action, I will be so hypercritical of myself that it is not perfect that I will refuse to do anything at all. My latest motto that I've been trying to work on is that perfection is the enemy of action. And to that point, it has made a lot of these things a little bit more approachable. When it's hard for me to show up to the gym and I can't give it 100%, but I can give it 20%, that is better than not showing up or doing it at all. That is better than letting myself talk myself out of doing something that I know deep down I really want to do. If your goals are really that important to you and you're reflecting on those values, eventually that action becomes a little bit easier. It's not always going to be the prettiest package. It's not always going to be the easiest choice, but the more that you make those choices, the easier it will become. The first time showing up, that was the hardest day in the gym for me. First of all, I had to confront a new anxiety, a new environment, new people. The second time, it wasn't as new. 8 years later, I go into the gym and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. You cannot get better at something without actively practicing it, and it applies here as well. One of the things that I really like to practice on the days whenever I am having a harder time showing up is to reference my list of goals and look at the values that I put next to them. What messages am I sending myself if I'm not taking those steps? What version of me am I validating by telling myself I don't have to do the things that I know deep down I want to do? You deserve to show up for yourself. You are capable of making your goals come to fruition. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. And I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but whenever I say if I can do it, anybody can do it, I freaking mean that. I literally went from being somebody who actually despised exercise, avoided it at all costs, and found a way to make it work for me and accomplish my goals. You are capable of doing the things that you set your mind to. You deserve to take the steps towards it. I know it can be overwhelming, a lot to digest at first, but girl, you are that girl. You can do this. I believe in you fully. So those are some of my steps on building a little bit of discipline in your life. And if this video was helpful for you, you know, you can go like, subscribe, hang out a little. I'm gonna be trying to post videos every week, and I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is this time. And if you want more of me for some reason, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. And if you want a little extra help along your fitness journey, I do have one-on-one coaching. That one's really, really fun because I get to know you, you get to know me, we get to work together to make your goals come true. Shameless plug, but I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you so much. Have the best freaking day.